Good evening and welcome to the Virtual Circuit Racing TCR Championship. Round 2 takes us to the Temple of Speed, that is Monza, located approximately 30 kilometres away from the city of Milan. I am Tom Cairns in the commentary position. Alongside me is Paul Glover. He'll be with me to share his thoughts on what we've got lined up for this evening. One round down, that took place at Donington last week. That was won by Traffic King, quite convincingly over the others. Lee Southall was second, with Josh Hathwaite in third position. Dave Price was fourth, ahead of Alex Jarrett, and Chris McIntosh only making it to sixth spot there. Running down on the calendar for this season, bearing in mind some rounds we've got reverse grid races to come as well. So just getting the championship, the calendar up as we speak. We're into the developing stages of qualifying. We've got 12 minutes to go. They are just on their first flying laps after practice that these drivers have done. So we've been to Donington. Tonight is Monza, that it's off to Silverstone GP, which would be the first round to hold a reverse grid race. Then it's off to Alton on the 29th, Snetterton on the 5th of September, followed by Thruxton and Cadwell Park. Brands Hatch rounds out the month on the 26th of September, with the final round of the season being held in North Yorkshire at Croft. Now, the other rounds that will hold reverse grid races, they are Alton International, round 6, which is Thruxton on the 12th of September, and round 8 at Brands Hatch GP on the 26th. With that format, compared to the one race we've got this evening, there'll be two 15-minute races, with the second race being a top 8 grid reversal. Tonight, it is a 20-minute race, just like what it was last week at Donington. So it'll be around about no more than 11 laps of racing after qualifying is done. Let's bring Paul into the booth and get his thoughts on what he expects from tonight's action. Paul, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. As just see that Hathwaite sets the fastest lap so far, 1:57.8. Yeah, I'm doing okay, thank you. Had a bit of a bug the last couple of days, but I'm surviving. Monza, wasn't one of my favourite tracks. I know that's unheard of people saying that. I think comically because of turn 1 into the first chicane, but with the recent release of Le Mans Ultimate, when I say recent, it's probably been a year and a half, maybe 2 years now since early access came out. I've really got an appreciation for it since. So yeah, they're a great track, lots of history, and with these TCR cars, I'm expecting some great action this evening.
Absolutely, and there's one thing to mention as well. Following the opening round of the season at Donington, ballast is in for this season. Now, drivers finishing in the positions at the top end of the field will receive the corresponding ballast the following race, which is this round here at Monza. Now, the winner, which happens to be Traffic King, he's got 60 kilograms of ballast. The driver who finished second, that was Lee Southall, who's got 50 kilograms of ballast. Josh Hathwaite has got 40 kilograms of ballast. Then it's Dave Price, got 35 kilograms of ballast, followed by Alex Jarrett, 30 kilograms, Chris McIntosh 25, sorry. Then it's Jake Wardle with 20 kilograms of ballast, Darryl Moss 15, and last but not least Stephen Bosworth with 10 kilograms of ballast. All the other drivers that have gone.
So I was just about to say, I think Hathwaite's about to set the fastest lap so far in qualifying. So I think he's about to hit a 1:57.6 or something around that. He hasn't set any purple sectors, but there you go. He does take pole for the moment.
Yeah, by a tenth of a second over Chris McIntosh. Josh Hathwaite sets the benchmark, the early benchmark. And Traffic King, as I've already mentioned, is carrying 60 kilograms of ballast, hence why we are not seeing him at the forefront right now. So that is going to make it a little bit more challenging for him tonight than it was a week ago. So it's Josh Hathwaite who is carrying 20 kilograms less of ballast compared to Traffic King. He is the one who's ahead with Chris McIntosh, who, as I already mentioned, he finished 5th last week, or 6th rather. He's got 25 kilograms of ballast. So he's got 35 kilograms less ballast than Traffic King. and 15 less than Josh Haythwaite, who has the fastest time.
Yeah, like a little bit of ballast just to keep the racing close. We're obviously very familiar with it with the British touring cars here in the UK, and I'm sure there are other series that use it as well, though these days the ballast is more about the hybrid rather than actually adding weight to the cars these days. So they get, depending on where they finish in positions, they get a certain amount of time of hybrid taken away. And it seems to, well, the British touring cars racing that I've watched in the last couple of years, it does appear to be working. So, but yeah, good to see ballast being used and trying to keep the group close together.
We're right on board with Traffic King, aiming to improve on 4th position. He's running about a quarter of a second off Josh Haythwaite's time.
He looks like he is going to set a personal best here, so that's something at least.
It could be good enough to move in front of Southall into 3rd place. Over the line goes Traffic King, and it's good enough to move him onto the front row for now. And that is very, very... Considering the amount of ballast he's on, that is a very impressive time.
Yeah, indeed. So Josh Haythwaite here is just starting another lap. So what would your strategy be with qualifying, Tom? If this was you, would you just stick loads of fuel in it and just keep running laps, or would you do what these drivers are doing, is go out, do a couple of laps, hit back to the pits, put some new tyres on, and away you go?
Considering it's the Temple of Speed, I would probably say the fuel really drains quickly around this circuit. It is one of the fastest in the world, is Monza, and you don't have a lot of time to really think about what to do next. I mean, it's a risky one to go for one flying lap with as least amount of fuel as possible, because you want to get every 10th or 100th out of every corner that you can get. That could make the difference between being on the front row and being down in 7th or 8th or whatever. But if it was me, I would be tempted to just go for 2 runs consecutively. So you do your outlet, then do 2 flying laps consecutively, and then come back into pit lane and then go again, because you don't have a lot of time to get it right.
No, you don't. But I guess being that it's Monza, as I touched on in my intro, as Luke Woodhouse slots into to P1 there with a 1:57.5. You have got this first chicane to deal with, right? And it's infamous for a little bit of carnage. Cold brakes, cold tyres. People have been sat on the start-finish straight in the pits for a few minutes. It can sometimes take you to find that rhythm again. It's very easy to miss your braking point, etc. So around here, sometimes qualifying a little bit further back, depending where that is, hopefully not right in the middle of the pack, can actually be a bit of a plus.
Luke Woodhouse was able to go to the top of the timing pages. He's not carrying any ballast because he finished 13th in last week's race, which was a little bit of an anomaly.
Best he did 6-1 as well there, Tom.
Yeah, he has, and it looks good to even improve on that. He may even get the benefit of a tow off the go ahead. Oh no, it looks like he's pretty much blown the engine or cut the tyres there, did Luke, and back into pit lane he goes.
Yeah, so we'll see Josh Haythwaite's just leaving the pits as well. We've got Stephen Bosworth currently in the pits too. Let's find somebody that's on a lap.
Alex Jarrod is on circuit. He's yet to post a representative lap time. He is in 14th position, but we expect him to get a time on the board that's more representative of what he has done. But it is Woodhouse who is leading the way for now. Traffic King, despite carrying 60 kilograms of ballast, is in 3rd place, ahead of Chris McIntosh, who's only around about half a tenth off.
Yeah, it's close, isn't it? Because from P1 to P5, they're all in the 157. So Luke Woodhouse is just in the mids, and everyone else is just in the highs of the 157. So yeah, pretty impressive from Traffic King, as you say, with that extra bit of ballast. If without that, he'd probably be leading the way, would you say?
Yeah, well, he'd be running away with it, Traffic King, without this ballast rule that's come in, and I do like it actually.
I think this man is on for a faster lap at the moment. there's a couple of people setting faster laps, Tom. Matthew, Addy and Dave Price as well. Potentially into low 158, but let's keep an eye on Chris.
And Chris McIntosh heading through sector 1 on this lap. How is he getting on through this first sector? Well, he is what looks like a couple of tenths off what Luke Woodhouse had posted. So he's got a lot of work to do. Oh no, that's the previous lap, isn't it? He hadn't registered where he is in terms of the timing page. Well, he has set so far an orange first sector, so it's not really an improvement for Chris McIntosh. It was a 42.4 he had posted through there. Can he find some time in sector 2? Well, we've come away from McIntosh. We're looking at Traffic King.
Yeah, well, he's just started a new lap, so unfortunately for McIntosh, I don't think he was going to find any extra time. But obviously impressive here what King is able to do. Oh, so that's what I love about these TCRs is the kind of the cars kind of bounce over the curbs a little bit, don't they? You can be aggressive, but you can't be that aggressive.
And yeah, I do like the cars going over the curbs, because these cars are more designed to ride over curbs like that, whereas single seaters are not so as much. There's that buffer with these machines that can encourage the driver to just take it a little bit more aggressively over them compared to a single seater. It looks like Samuel's got up into 9th place, and Traffic King through sector 2 is a long way off compared to what he's done. So I think we may as well come away from him, because he's not going to improve on this one. He'll have one more go at it though. Here is Luke Woodhouse, professional pole sitter.
Yes, Alex Jarrett, I think it's just set a personal best of 157.5, I think. That's his best, but he's still showing in P14, as where Sam Laidlaw has apparently done a 2 minutes. I don't quite know what's going on there with the timing. Yeah, your current pole sitter, Luke Woodhouse, is he going any faster? No, he's not. Maybe Chris McIntosh is able to do something.
He may be able to get the toe off the car in front of him. Judging by that lock up there, missing the apex, it doesn't feel like he's going to improve this time around through Les Mode 2. And he'll get the benefit of the slipstream from the car ahead. Now, so far on this lap, McIntosh has posted a 42.3 in sector 1, but is not a personal best. Through sector 2, as he enters the Ascari chicane, it is a 38.0, which is also not a personal best.
But he's not far off the time, his previous time now, is he? Really? So checker flags out. So if he can all down to this part here and into the parabolica, you can very easily lose or gain time here.
Yeah. So if he can keep the lap together, he may just possibly move in front of Traffic King into 3rd position, because it could just come down to thousandths of a second that decides who ends up where. Through comes Chris McIntosh. 1:57.5 is the time to be on pole. He goes to the front row, so he's able to displace Haythwaite and King.
I think Luke Woodhouse then is setting is going faster at the moment. I see Ben Gibbons just slotted into P6 with a 1:57.9, so nicely done there. But yeah, Luke was looking pretty good to set the fastest lap, but I think he's just lost a little bit of time there in the second sector.
Well, yeah, and he's not even posted the personal best in sector 1. I will say though, Chris McIntosh's 3rd sector time was a purple of anyone.
Yeah, 38.1 was it? Yeah.
It was a 37.2 he did in that last sector.
Okay. Nice. So, and it's, like I said, the parabolica. If you get that momentum, 100%, you can really carry speed, and it's also about how soon you can get back onto the power to go down the start-finish straight, and it can really make a difference to your lap, that final corner.
Daryl Moss has gone up into P12 at his final attempt. He at least is inside the 2-minute mark. Luke Woodhouse is coming into the pit lane knowing that no one else is going to be improving, and so pole position is his. Nicely done.
Yeah, brilliant. If you were Traffic King, I think you'd be really happy with how close you are to Luke Woodhouse there in qualifying. Obviously, over a race distance, that ballast might have a bit more of an impact with things like tyre wear and fuel usage. But as you say, it's only going to be an 11-lap race, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem for him.
Luke Woodhouse on pole position ahead of Chris McIntosh with Traffic King and Josh Hathwaite alongside, followed by Luke Southall and Ben Gibbons. Then it's Matthew Addy and Dave Price on the fourth row of the grid. John Hale and Shamoy Samuel rounding out the top 10 ahead of Stephen Bosworth and Daryl Moss. And the last row of the grid is occupied by Sam Laidlaw and Alex Jarrett. We're just waiting for the session to transition into the race. The cars will be on the grid, and it's just a matter of time before the lights come on, and then we'll be good to go for 20 minutes around the Temple of Speed. He will prevail around here. Well, Traffic King is going to have a much bigger challenge on his hands, not only starting from P3, but the fact that he is carrying significantly more ballast compared to the rest of the field. Will he be able to make mincemeat of McIntosh and Woodhouse even with that?
That's a good question. If I was him, I'd probably just take it easy. Not too easy to lose positions, but he's clearly got pace in that car, and I think if he could stay within the slipstream of the cars ahead, that potentially will help put him in good stead. But I'm just wondering whether we're gonna see a clean T1. That's my big question for this race this evening.
So that no one jumps the start either, otherwise that'll be pretty much their race done and dusted as well.
Well, this is it with the 20-minute races, right? It's not like you've got 45 minutes to or an hour to get things back into place.
You have joined us. Do make sure you join in the live chat if you ever so wish to do so, and we'll be willing to answer any questions during it. Do the like, saying here we go, boys, another one. And Ren Short saying happy Friday. Hello to Ren Short. Happy Friday as well. It'll soon be a bank holiday Monday in over a week's time for those in the UK. And it looks like the drivers are on the grid now, Paul, so we can look to them with Luke Woodhouse on pole position ahead of the pack. And the lights are coming on now, and we are good to go here at Monza. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. Lights are on. Lights off, it's go. Woodhouse's reaction was a little bit tardy compared to his nearest rival, that is Chris McIntosh. And look at Traffic King coming through into second place before getting into turn number 1. And it looks like Woodhouse is leading the way, but he's got McIntosh to the inside. Are they going to make it through turn 1 safely? It looks like they are, although Woodhouse had to take to the sausage curbs at the second part of that rectification chicane. And it looks like we've got cars all over the place. That is Daryl Moss in there, and Stephen Bosworth has also got, he's got involved in that too. But now it's Woodhouse who is going into combat with Chris McIntosh on the approach to the De La Rocha chicane. On the outside is Woodhouse, and he should be able to hold on here. There is Josh Wait, as McIntosh runs wide on the exit of the chicane, and that allows a series of cars go through the first part of Lesmo. And Woodhouse, unbelievably, is still in the lead with Traffic King in second place. Josh Hathwaite is in third place. Chris McIntosh getting back into fourth place ahead of Dave Price. And it's Luke Southall in sixth position.
Yeah, as you pointed out, Luke Woodhouse didn't get off to the best start, but he's managed to maintain P1. I thought he might lose that position into T1, but it's relatively clean. A little bit of carnage at the back, but everybody's back going. And unfortunately for McIntosh, he's lost a few positions on that one.
Plenty of lockups through the Ascari chicane. And the drivers are almost trying to find a rhythm around this course. But at the moment, we're riding one with Ben Gibbons running in P7 ahead of Matthew Eddy, who's got by Samuel further back. And it looks like Samuel is on the threat. That is what looks like Addy trying to go to the outside of Ben Gibbons at the Parabolica, but to no avail, as the first lap is completed here, and Luke Woodhouse leads the way ahead of Trafficking and Josh Haythwaite.
Yeah, well, talking of Haythwaite and King, they're kind of side by side with Haythwaite on the right-hand side, which is where you want to be into as we approach T1. There's a couple of side-by-side action in the background as well. And Haythwaite, oh, we've got contact.
Yeah, that's a concertina. That was bound to happen. That's the problem when you're going at racing speed down to the first chicane on the second lap compared to what it is on the first. Cold brakes, cold tyres, and they just haven't exactly found their sweet spot yet, considering they're on heavy fuel tanks compared to what they were in qualifying.
Yeah, so Traffic King lost P2 to Haythwaite into T1. So these three now, because of that collision further back, have now opened up that gap. I can see positions behind are also being swapped. So Price up into P7 currently. So there's a little bit of what I like to call a gaggle of cars here. And oh, who's that off? Is that? Oh,
that's Addy. Oh, it's Ben Gibbons. Sorry, it's Ben Gibbons. Yeah, Ben Gibbons is off, and there's another car off further back. That'll be Shamoy Samuel off at Lesmo 1, and no such problems for the top three. Luke Woodhouse, Josh Haythwaite, and Traffic King taking to the curbs, which these cars are able to do. Compared to some.
Addy having a look there. Sorry, that's Addy. I think having a look. Wasn't really
Addy,
on though.
Yeah, well, Addy was able to slingshot his way through on Sam Laidlaw for P7. Laidlaw has come through from the back of the field rather nicely, actually, through all the carnage, and now he can focus on a strong result. Luke Woodhouse continuing to lead. It's Haythwaite, King, McIntosh in fourth. It's Price, Southall, Addy. That's a lock up further ahead. That will be Southall going off the circuit at Parabolica Corner. Rejoins safely, but he's now dropped down to 8th position.
Yeah, he just seemed to lose the rear end. Luke Woodhouse has got a little bit of breathing space between from Haythwaite and King at the moment. King not letting off though. He's trying to put Haythwaite under immense pressure.
And right on board with Traffic King on the tail of Haythwaite, who is gunning for another positive result out of this evening. Now, in terms of last week's results, Traffic King went out on top, had Lee Southall and Josh Haythwaite. Luke Woodhouse, who had a really poor time of it, finishing 13th, well, has a golden opportunity to use the ballast to his advantage. It almost looks like rain looking at for that camera angle.
Yeah, I know, I noticed that. Yeah, the helicopter shot. Yeah, it looked like, I was like, well, there's no rain here. What's it doing? Yeah, and you can see just McIntosh just off on the back of these guys. Last time around, he did a 1:59.6, so he's not keeping up with these guys. But if any of them have a little bit of coming together, then he's sniffing away. And then we've got Addy, Price, and Laidlaw very close together with Southall just on the back of this little group.
Now, Lee Southall finished in second last week with the second most amount of ballast out of all the cars. He's going to find it quite tough to get back to where he was last week. And now it's a four-way battle for 5th position with Matthew Addy at the head of all this. And you can just see at the foreground, Chris McIntosh heading towards the parabolic, and it looks like Dave Price is sending it to the outside. Addy going defensive rather early. He'll want to close back in towards the racing line to give him the best entry to the Alboreto corner, and he's able to get the car slowed down, but it's going to allow Dave Price to make the switch back on the inside, and should he remain on the inside, he'll have the high ground into the Rettifilio, and it looks like Dave Price is not quite close enough. He may have to just tuck back into the slipstream before going for it.
But he's still sticking his nose in there, so he's going to go a little bit later on the brakes as they're going to be coming together. No, he thinks better of it, and he just slots in behind. That was the right decision.
Yeah, well, that was sensible from Dave Price that time around. But now you look at the battle between second and third, Josh Haythwaite and Traffic King heading towards Delaroche. Woodhouse has been able to build up a little bit of a margin now, so he is in command of this race, and he's allowing Haythwaite and King to fight amongst themselves. A little bit further back, Matthew Eddy's still holding on ahead of Dave Price for the time being. Luke Southall is back ahead of Sam Laidlaw into 7th place on this lap. Chamoy Samuel and John Hale on next. John Hale's on his own in 10th position, with Ben Gibbons a couple of seconds clear over Alex Gerrard. And another couple of seconds back is Daryl Moss, and Stephen Bosworth is well and truly on his own, down in last position. And there goes King.
Yeah, he's through. I was very surprised, actually. I didn't see that coming. But Haythwaite already tucking up behind him.
Yeah, well, he's not giving up by any means. He's tucked up into the slipstream, which is pretty much the emphasis of this Monza circuit. If you stay in a tow, you can find a way back through, and that's what Haythwaite is doing. King may have to yield here through Parabolica, unless he can send it up the inside. Well, he refuses to yield that time around. He locks up, almost using Haythwaite as a brake to make it through the corner. Nothing too reckless with that, but Haythwaite is coming back on the pit straight on Traffic King, and he's almost like he's bump draft. He's bump drafting King all the way down to the Retifilio, but there has to come a point where he's going to pull out and make an absolute lunge for it, or whether he's waiting for King to perhaps miss his braking point into the Retifilio, which he doesn't do so. He tried to trick him there, trying to use him as a reference point to brake for the Retifilio, but King was having none of it.
Yeah, always a risk doing a bit of bumping like that. You don't quite know how the collision's going to react, but clearly maybe trying to make a little bit of a nuisance of himself, getting King's head potentially. But while that's been happening, Luke Woodhouse has opened up that gap now to 1.8 seconds. So now that King's in second, can he hold on to it? Just keep focused on the track ahead, hitting these braking points, hitting those apexes, getting onto the accelerator where needed, and try and put a gap between him and Haythwaite, and also try and close that gap down to Woodhouse. It's already down to 1.6, 1.7. So, but there we go. It's kind of up and down a little bit. So we'll give it a couple of laps and see how this settles out. And we're coming round to complete lap 5.
Yeah, nearly halfway through this one. These drivers racing in the Audi RS3 LMS 2024. 330 horsepower, 246 kilowatts, and 335 PS. It's an i4, or it's a turbocharged front-mounted FWD. This thing, it's a 6-speed. It has a 6-speed gearbox as well, and I think the 330 horsepower is going to come in handy on a circuit like this one. And Haythwaite, well, he's making the most of the slipstream for now. When is he going to go for it on Traffic King?
Well, Traffic King's pushing wide there. I don't think that's the best line, so that might give Haythwaite a bit of a chance to get into the slipstream. So I think in the previous lap, when we came round here, he's a little bit too close, which is probably why he wasn't able to pick up the momentum like he can now. So he'll go into slipstream, and then we'll suddenly pull out like that, and he's got the overdrive that he needs to get past.
Yeah, and if I was King, I'd probably let him go, because you won't want to squabble with him and lose ground to Luke Woodhouse in the closing stages. Well, he's fighting back, out-braking Haythwaite into turn number 1, and somehow King's able to hold on.
You're not King, and yeah, I probably would have done the same thing, to be honest. I'm not an aggressive driver, which is probably why I don't win enough races. But yeah, Haythwaite now trying to have a little sniff around the outside, and again, just making nuisance of himself here, right on the, not as close as we saw him before, where they've actually made contact. But again, now that, to your point, you know, King sort of maybe not bad. That gap's now opened up by nearly a second. So Woodhouse now 2.5 seconds ahead.
It reminds you that Haythwaite is carrying 20 kilograms less ballast than Traffic King, which could well give him the advantage he needs to just at least stay in touch with Traffic King. If they were on the same amount of ballast, I would think that Traffic King would have been scampering off into the distance from him.
Yes, I just saw Laidlaw just gained a position there.
It's because Luke Southall's had an off somewhere. Yeah, he's gone down the order, has Southall. I don't know what's happened to him. He's behind John Hale now, and he's got Ben Gibbons for company. So Lee Southall, sorry, not, I don't know why I said Luke Southall. It's just the L. Makes me think it's Luke, but it's not, it's Lee. So I do apologise for that. But yes, Lee Southall's in 10th place now. He's lost 3 positions on this lap after his latest moment. The man who finished second last week is having a troublesome time of it. Haythwaite's got through on King for second place. Coming out of the Parabolica, there he is, look, now into P2. Now, I don't know whether King made a mistake at the last turn, or whether he went wide on purpose to allow Haythwaite through and get the slipstream.
Yeah. Very, very important, as I keep saying, very important corner of the Parabolica. As King gets very close into the braking zone there.
The Rettifilio trafficking right on the tail as they come through the Curva Grande. And we've seen a lot of iconic battles through this section of the course, not to mention the Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso battles in 2011 and 2012 through here. One was a clean one, the other was not so clean, and on that occasion Vettel got penalised for it.
Indeed. I'm quite interested to see how much curbs different drivers take. Some don't take any at all, and others are like, yeah, I'm just going to ride these bad boys. So completely different driving styles at certain points of the circuit. So it is interesting. You do wonder if some of the drivers, that's where they're leaving time on the table, because they're not being as aggressive as some of these leaders.
Darren Moss is ahead of Alex Gerrard for 12th position as well. He's now put out a second on him further back in the field as they come towards De La Rocha. And they're 26 seconds clear. Oh, and that's Darren Moss going way too deep, actually, into De La Rocha. He was able to slow it down, but I'm sure he'll have lost time due to that. We've got a battle for 7th place as well between Sam Laidlaw and Shamoy Samuel heading towards Ascari. And Samuel on the inside of Laidlaw. Has he gone a little bit too deep? Well, he hasn't. He's left him room, and Samuel was able to find a way past. That was a very nice, neat overtake there from him.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it was very good. Very, not an easy place to make a move. But as I always say, and I'm sure people get bored of me saying it, it takes two to tango. It needs your opposition to also play ball and give you room, and I think that's what happened there. And that meant that a good move was allowed to happen.
And Gerrard has got back through on Darren Moss for 12th position. Coming out of and looking at Traffic King there. I think the camera was a little bit deceptive there.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah,
I've not seen that one yet. That was new. It was like trying to do a pan on us or something. I think it's trying to be too clever.
Well, that's a more clever shot coming into De La Rocha. Trafficking in 3rd place. He's got Chris McIntosh less than 2 seconds off him now. I think Chris McIntosh has come into his zone a little bit and closing in, but he is running out of time. Will be 3 more laps after this one. Lee Southall going back ahead of Ben Gibbons
there's
for 10th
a crash.
position.
I think Lee Southall and Ben Gibbons have had, their live timing's reporting it, so but I don't know how accurate that is, but anyway, as you say, Chris McIntosh is kind of bringing himself into it a little bit. He's slowly but surely bringing that gap down to these guys. He's only 5.5 seconds off the lead, really.
He's been able to sustain the lap times. I mean, the fact that he hasn't been battling with any drivers in the field underlines the pace that McIntosh has been able to have. Now, I will remind you that McIntosh, in terms of the amount of ballast he is running, 25 kilograms, compared to Trafficking, who's got 35 more kilograms of ballast than him. Haythwaite has got 15 kilograms more ballast than him, whereas Woodhouse has got no kilograms of ballast on him. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, Woodhouse setting the fastest lap of the race, 1:57.6. Pretty impressive.
Impressive lap times from the Woodhouse, being able to keep up with the lap times. You just see further back, that is Matthew Addy, who's around about 6 seconds off Chris McIntosh. Has left Dave Price for dead, really. I think those two are just settling where they are. Now, where these drivers end up today will have an impact on how much ballast they will have for the next round of the championship. Now, the next round after Monza is over at Silverstone. And right now, Luke Woodhouse would have the unwanted advantage of having 60 kilograms of ballast on his car. Haythwaite would have 50 and Trafficking would only have 40.
Yeah, so, yeah, the only way I think you can slow Luke Woodhouse down is give him some more ballast. So, yeah, but, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, 4.5, I mean, Chris McIntosh has pulled that gap in to the leader. It's 4.5 seconds now. So, if I was King, I'd be a little bit worried about losing the bottom step of that podium.
Well, on the last lap, between the top 4, Josh Haythwaite was the fastest out of all of them on that last lap. And he's running about 1.6 seconds off, whereas McIntosh, I think, on this lap, is going to be the quickest of the 4, because he's been that solid on this one.
Yeah, you can tell that Haythwaite's been able to get away from King, and I think now towards the later stages of the race is where maybe that ballast is starting to take hold a little bit on King. I mean, I know it's only 11-minute race, but having more weight to the car is clearly going to affect. And then we can see he's done a 1:57.6. King did a 1:58.2. So, and he's only got what, 2 laps left after this one to go. So, if he's gonna make a move, he needs to find a bit more time, or King to possibly make an error.
2 laps to go at Monza, and Luke Woodhouse is on his way to victory by the looks of things. The closest battle we've got right now seems to be between Haythwaite, King and McIntosh for P2. But the battles is not that intense right now. You can just see there's a gap between Haythwaite and King. So it's now between King and McIntosh for the final podium position. Now Silverstone will host 2 races, the second being determined by the reverse of the top 8 finishes in race 1. At least all 14 drivers are still running. 1 retired before the end of the race, or maybe 2. But it looks like we're going to get all 14 making it to the checkered flag this time at Monza. There will be 1 more lap to come. Luke Woodhouse will get over the line before the timer reaches 0. Have you raced in these cars then, Paul?
No, I haven't. No, but I've raced in similar cars to these in AC many years ago, and they're great fun. These kind of cars, because you can throw them around. You know, the old tin tops, as people like to call them. You can have proper close racing in them. A little bit of rubbing. It's great. It's great. They really are great cars. This kind of style of car. And you can see that today, like how close they are, because they're really struggling to gain on each other. I know there's obviously ballast to play a part in that, but yeah, Haythwaite a little bit quicker than Woodhouse last lap. Did I just see? No, he was a little bit slower. They're very similar pace though. Unbelievable similar pace, which again just shows you how good this kind of class of car is. I'll get my words out eventually.
We're on the last lap of the race. Luke Woodhouse close to the end. McIntosh is doing his best to close in on King, but he is running out of time now to make his move. It looks like McIntosh is going to settle for 4th, which at least is still better than what he came up with last week in Donington. And you can just see Luke Woodhouse riding the curbs through the Della Roggia. He doesn't need to worry too much. They will look at McIntosh behind King, entering Lesmo 1.
Sniff him now, can't he? He can proper get a sniff on.
He'll have 1 opportunity to go for it at the Parabolica.
Yeah.
He is continuing to run wide, which won't help too much.
No, that's the problem sometimes. When you're chasing someone down, you start using too much of the track because you're pushing too hard. You're focusing on the car ahead rather than your apexes and your exits. So.
Out of the Ascari chicane comes Luke Woodhouse, who hasn't had it all his own way. It was a very tricky first lap where he ran wide through the Rettifilio and Della Roggia to maintain the advantage over everyone else. But he's withstood the pressure and he's about to convert it into a brilliant and well-deserved victory. Luke Woodhouse exits the Parabolica for the last time and he's going to take victory at Monza in the virtual circuit racing championship in these Audis. And what a drive it has been from him. Josh Haythwaite second, with Traffic King making it to the podium again. And it's Chris McIntosh who was able to close on him so much, but not quite close. Now, Matthew Addy, a fine drive to 5th place at a Dave Price. And it will be Shamoy Samuel, a better drive today compared to what it was a week ago. He's going to make it to P7. And it's Sam Laidlaw in 8th place. Lee Southall, a few seconds off as well in 9th spot. Got ahead of John Hale in the final laps. And then it will be Ben Gibbons in P11. Daryl Moss, Alex Gerrard, and Stephen Bosworth, who, believe it or not, is closing in on Gerrard, actually. I don't know if Gerrard has picked up damage earlier on and has allowed Bosworth to close in. So that might be a nice battle to watch, actually, in the closing stage. There is Daryl Moss, sorry. And further, you can just see in the background, Alex Gerrard and Stephen Bosworth fighting over the final positions. The consolation for these is that they will not carry any ballast for the next 2 races that we've got at Silverstone in a week's time. Over the line come Alex Gerrard and Stephen Bosworth, and the race is over here at the Temple of Speed. It's victory for Luke Woodhouse. He wins out by approximately 1.5 seconds over Josh Haythwaite. Chris McIntosh in third. Chris McIntosh. Trafford King was in third place ahead of Chris McIntosh, with Matthew Addy in fourth and Dave Price. Matthew Addy in 5th place, I should say, if I can get my words out. Then it's Dave Price in 6th. Shamoy Samuel, Sam Laidlaw, Lee Southall, John Hale in 10th place. Then we've got Ben Gibbons, Daryl Moss, Alex Gerrard, and Stephen Bosworth rounding out all 14, making it to the end from the start of that. What can we take from this one then, Paul? A good race all round. It'd be nice if we saw a little bit more overtaking, but you could just see that the ballast that some of these have had to carry have played a role in how this race has been decided.
Yeah, a little bit. And let's be honest. Monza isn't necessarily a typical touring car TCR kind of track, which is why I think British touring cars in the UK, particularly in TCR UK, works quite well, because we've got a lot of twisty tracks, as where Monza's about speed. So I think we'll see maybe some more action at Silverstone. I know, if they're running the full Grand Prix circuit, you've got a couple of long straights there, but you've also got some really good sections of Silverstone. One of my favourite tracks, if you get it right. And I'm sure there'll be other tracks of a similar nature later in the season as well. But some good quality racing, though. I think respectful, and that's what you want to see. Shame about the carnage at the start into T1, and then on the next lap there was a little bit of carnage following that. But yeah, some great battling, I think it's fair to say.
We'll get a word with the top 3. We'll begin with the 3rd place man, Trafford King. If I can drag him into here, I can't do that for whatever reason, so I may have to ask you to do that, Paul. If you can do that.
Say Trafford, did you? Trafford King.
Yeah, Trafford King at 3rd place.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
And that is the end of the race. And 3rd place it is for Trafford King. Considering that you were carrying 60 kilograms of ballast, a good result?
Yeah, it was all right, that. You could tell as soon as sort of everyone started stretching the legs a little bit, the ballast properly came in. It was all right with the toe, and then as soon as that was gone, that was it. Game over.
And well, how much an advantage will that give you going into Silverstone? Because we've got a couple of races, including the reverse grid. It will be 40 kilograms of ballast you will have for then. Will that be enough for you to get back to the top step?
It should be a bit better with 40 rather than 60. There's a lot of stop starts in it at Silverstone, so we should be able to push on a little bit more there. But we'll see what Luke's like with his 60 now. He can have a bit of it.
Yeah, well, Luke didn't have any ballast because of where he finished last week in Donington. How he found the Audis then, Trafford, compared to previous machinery that that you've raced in this particular league?
They're a bit more stable than the touring car. We've tried to make it a little bit more spicy with setup, which it's worked really, but yeah, they're not quite there with the sort of touring cars, but yeah, they're good. They met some good racing now as well, especially with them being so stable. They sort of, you can run side by side without thinking someone's going to get a massive snap of oversteer or something along those lines.
Anyone want to shout out to Trevor before we let you go?
Again, just all you boys for putting it on. Top job, mega.
You haven't watched it
wonderful.
back yet.
Paul's got a point, to be fair.
What's that? What did he say?
He said he's still yet to watch it back.
Oh, right. Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll see.
Okay. But anyway, thank you very much, Trevor, and best of luck to you at Silverstone next week.
Perfect. Cheers.
Trevor King finishing third at Monza. We'll speak to the man finishing runner-up today. That is Josh Hathwaite. Josh, a very, very good performance today, getting that second place, holding Trevor King off to the end. How did you find that compared to Donington?
It was so much better. I'm a really, really big fan of Monza and Donington. I'm just a little bit tired of it now. It's still a good track, but I've done a lot of laps of Monza, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
Bearing in mind you were carrying 40 kilograms of ballast, how did the car feel compared to not having any ballast at all? What differences can you pick out from that?
Well, we did a little bit of pre-season testing a few weeks back, and we were doing it on Monza without ballast. And I think my fastest was a 57.1 with no ballast, and my fastest this time was a 57.6. So heavier, definitely a lot heavier, but a little bit more stable. I think it aided in some aspects, but in the corner exit, getting that power down, it was just a little bit of a disadvantage.
What about Silverstone next week? Because we've got two races, each being 15 minutes with the reverse grid of the top 8 for race 2 of that. Yeah, go on.
I think it's going to be very, very interesting. It's the first time we've done reverse grid. And I think it's going to make things quite interesting because the ballast, as far as I'm aware, the ballast stays from race 1 to race 2. So I could end up with quite the disadvantage. But we will see. We will see.
Anyone want to shout out to Josh before we let you go?
As always, my darling fiancée Amy, my granddad watching at home, and my work Falcon Turbos.
Well, shout out to them as well, and well done on putting together another strong performance this evening. That's 2 podiums from 2 races.
Yes, it's a lovely contrast from last season where it was a bit of a battle, and thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much, Josh, and best of luck at Silverstone in a week's time.
Take care. Thank you.
We'll speak to today's race winner at Monza. That is Luke Woodhouse. Luke, how was that for you? Bearing in mind, you were not carrying any ballast because of where you ended up last week in Donington. Do you think if you carried a little bit of ballast, would you have won still?
It definitely would have been, if anything, it would have been a lot tighter. We were all quite similar pace, so it definitely would have been close. But I can't say whether I would have or not. But it definitely made for still quite an interesting battle because we was times at the end once we'd all burnt off fuel and tyres had worn. It was very similar between mine and Josh's. So it definitely kept me on my toes, pushing right to the end.
I spoke to we spoke to Trafford earlier about the Audis in compared to the touring cars that he raced in last season. How have you fared so far with the Audis?
Good. They're not quite coming from the British touring cars and how we can set them up to these. It's still a big difference. Like we were sort of very lucky with those cars, if you wish. They did exactly what you wanted, exactly what you expect from changing the setup. Whereas this, it's a little bit difficult to get what we wanted out of the car. I think we've managed to do it. We've managed to find a happy medium setup for everyone. But definitely doesn't drive quite as nice. So yeah, I am missing them a little bit.
And Silverstone next week, we return to Britain next time out with 2 races, one of which being the reverse grid. How is that going to impact you? Because because you've won today, you're going to be carrying 60 kilograms of ballast, so it could be twice as challenging.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely ask me that question again after Silverstone, and you might get a different answer. Yeah, it should definitely make a difference around Silverstone being probably a 2-minute track, 2-minute 10 track for us. You know, the longest one on the circuit, on the calendar. It's going to be interesting.
Anyone want to shout out to Luke before we let you go?
Yeah, you guys again for coming back this season, putting on great streams as always. Yeah, and just everyone who turns up, you know, week in, week out, putting in the laps, making for great racing. Obviously, we couldn't do it without all the lads who come every week. So yeah, thank you to both of them guys and all the lads.
Luke, very well done today. Much better performance compared to what it was at Donington last week, and best of luck at Silverstone next time out.
Yeah, Donington one to forget, but yeah, no,
That's
thanks
a
guys.
backhanded compliment if I ever did hear one from Tom there. So.
Right, cheers guys.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Luke.
See you later.
Well, that's our top three spoken to at the end of the race. They seem very, very happy with their performances. And Paul, Silverstone, I don't know if you'll be around for that, but we've got 2 brilliant races lined up with the reverse grid involved on the Grand Prix configuration of Silverstone. I think we're going to be in for a treat, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. And adding in the reverse grid, as Josh mentioned, I didn't realise it was the first time they're doing it. I'm not here for the next round. I kind of step in for when James is unable to do the broadcast if I'm available. But yeah, reverse grid has its risks, right? Because you've got the slower cars at the front, and if you're not used to being at the front, you kind of sort of lose yourself a little bit sometimes. And as we saw at the start of this race, the guys at the back are the ones that tend to cause a little bit of the mess on the first lap. So it'll be interesting to see what the likes of if Traffic King qualifies up there and they do reverse grid, and the likes of Josh and Luke as well. Then it'll be interesting to see what they come up against when they're trying to start the first lap and go into turn 1 and probably turn 2 at Silverstone if they're starting on the Formula 1 start-finish straight. But yeah, and some different challenges is to get past the slower drivers before they can really race. And it'll probably feel like going through back markers to a little bit of an extent. But then as you start getting closer to the front, you might struggle to get past some of the slightly faster mid-pack guys. But good format nevertheless. I think it's something they've been calling in for in other series, haven't they, the last few years, to try and mix things up. So be interested to see how well it works.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Now you mentioned the reverse grid, and with the faster drivers destined to be coming through the field, it's going to put another spanner into the mix and put them into the true test of their racecraft compared to just being quick. It's not just about being quick; it's about overtaking drivers on the circuit, and I really am looking forward to see what happens at Silverstone there. Paul, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you to everyone that's tuned in. Do make sure you like and subscribe to the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel. You can keep up to date with all the races that are being streamed on the channel itself. And it'll be Silverstone next time out, 2 races, including one of which being the top 8 reverse grid. You don't want to miss it, and we'll do it all over again in 7 days' time. I am Tom Cairns with Paul Glover, and we'll speak to you again soon when the Virtual Circuit Racing TCR Championship returns.